Hey everybody, it's Melissa, the Improv Sophisticate, and I'm here to talk about life and the pursuit of happiness through the filter of being an improviser. Hi. Okay, so today I almost wanted to talk about a concept that I think is super important, and that is leaving your shit at the door, like leaving your day behind you and then moving forward into your work. But I realized something. There's actually more, like that's actually sort of a sub category, and the overall category is what I think I should start with, and that is ritualizing. Yes, ritualizing. I recommend it. I actually have suffered from PTSD. Very many people have anxiety, this and that, and depression, and everything else that brings us down. Well, for me, I've been through some traumas, and I just kind of developed these issues. So I'm not going to go into those, but I think that is where I sort of got the impetus. That's when I started to ritualize things, and I realized how very valuable that is. And it is super awesome, especially for actors and performers, and improvisers are performers. So different rituals that you come up with that are particular to you are going to be really helpful. And the way that I find, for me, finding a ritual, this is how I've discovered my rituals. I do things, and then when they work, I write them down. And then if they kind of stop working, I stop doing them. But I remind myself by writing things down, and I have like, I guess this is a ritual too. I actually have a launch pad. I like to call it a launch pad. It's in my kitchen on my island. It's like a particular corner. It's about probably an eighth of the corner of the kitchen island, and I always have on it basically my to-do notebook, a pen, my little cup for my vitamins, and whatever else I might need for the next morning if I think of it the night before, or at any point through the day. I'll just kind of stop by and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to need to bring this thing to my thing tomorrow, or whatever, as thoughts roll on. And I might jot down like a little note, a little to-do note for myself. Now, I try to be very careful that this doesn't become like a collecting region. I mean, I don't have time to read like 800 notes to self. That's not helpful. But a ritual might be something like, for example, I have ritualized my breakfast. I love my breakfast. It is important to me. And as long as I'm staying home throughout the day, which I often am nowadays, knock on wood that can last and the money can hold out. But basically, I have the same breakfast. And because I have the same redundant breakfast, I have it very quickly. I always have the ingredients on the ready. I always have 2 eggs, 2 pieces of toast. I season my eggs in a weird way, but it's the way I like them. I have, over medium. Well, I don't know. They're over hard most of the time, but I'm aiming for over medium. And I put dill on them, and I put a little cayenne pepper, and I put normal black pepper. And I do it the same every day because I really like it that way. And then I take my sea salt and my 2 eggs, and I pop in my 2 pieces of toast, and I always butter them. And then I put that all together, and I kind of bring it out on a little tray into my front room, which this is my front room. And I just enjoy my eggs, and I always usually have a cup of coffee with it. And I don't eat my coffee until I'm done with my eggs. It's just something that works for me. It works for me. It gets my head clear. It's a comfort thing. When you do a ritual, it's more than just the act itself. The ritualization is a comfort of its own, particularly for anyone that struggles with anxiety. We struggle with anxiety because we feel unstable. We feel nervous and scared that we're out of control, or not that we're out of control, but that out there is out of control. So we try to control things. But by ritualizing things, it really does help. I don't think this is just something for people with problems. I think this is something for everybody, especially when you're an actor. When I played a a rule one time. I came up with kind of a ritual. I would go into the dressing room. I would greet a couple people. I would go to this one little area. I would do my makeup. As much as I did before the makeup person came and like finished everything, but like I was responsible for my base makeup, and I'd do a couple other things. And then while I was waiting for the makeup person to come my way, I would open my script and I would just read it. Like I wouldn't even read it. I would just, like, my eyes, I would just take it and I would go through the whole script, just page by page. I don't know how many pages it was, maybe 90 some pages, maybe 100, I don't know. But I would just kind of like, and I had a lot of lines, so I would just kind of let my mind see the lines. And while I was doing that, I would just kind of be very gently telling myself, I know all these lines. Yeah, I know all these lines. I know all these lines. I know. Yep, I know all these lines. And I would just let it just steep into like my subconscious soul region. And that was my ritual. And let me tell you, I never, ever forgot a line. And I did like 75, 80 shows of that show. And if maybe I biffed a thing here or there, but it really helped me because I would have anxiety. Every time I would drive there, I was driving, to work. That was my job at the time. And I was driving and I'd be like, oh, fuck, what if I forget my lines? What if I fuck up? That's just normal stuff. And no matter how many times you do it, when you're an actor and you're responsible for what you're responsible for. You're not responsible for making phone calls and making sales. You're not responsible for taking, waitress, waiter orders, cocktail wait orders, other jobs that I've had. You're not responsible for that. You're responsible for what an actor's responsible for, which is like knowing your blocking, knowing your lines, being in this zone of either joy or focus or whatever it is for you. Improvisers, you need to have some rituals that get you to a place of joy. Some people that I know a guy that actually he always will play a particular song on his phone. He has like a playlist of a few different songs that kind of always get him kind of like upbeat and get him moving, and he dances, like he jigs around a little bit. That's an awesome ritual. I do that in my life. I actually have a couple songs that are like shortcut, like on my phone, on the on the menu screen that just shortcut directly to the YouTube link to that song, and I will listen to that song whenever I'm feeling like depression is starting to overtake me. I will just like boom, I will hit that song and just try to lift myself out. Now obviously you can't, as a life lesson, I just think it's important to be responsible here and say it's not healthy to stuff your emotions. So don't do this as like a habit to like avoid feeling. But clearly, if you have something ahead of you, you have a show, even a class, ritualizing some things so that you are open. I'm going to even just go ahead and go into a couple bullet points that I think will be helpful. I'm going to off the cuff these, but I'll bet they'll be valuable. When you're going to an improv class, I recommend that you ritualize. Hopefully your teacher is going to help with some of these things, but let's say they don't. I think it's a really valuable tool to ritualize for yourself. Clearly, just straight up wear something you can move around in. Wear shoes that are comfortable, that you don't feel like you want to take them off, and that allow you to move and to be free and malleable. Definitely move around a bit, warm your body up a little bit. Definitely you want to warm your body up. And then you want to have something that is like a physical warm-up. You want to have a verbal warm-up. And you want to have a connecting warm-up with your group and with the class. So that could be pre-class chit-chat. Your by yourself time, you could spend some time doing some of the exercises I've shown in other videos that are verbal warm-ups. You can definitely do some physical, just straight up stretches, little this, little of that, little of this business, get your back. That felt good. Do all that. Don't be afraid to do that in front of people. Chances are, I'm not even going to say 98%. I'm not going to say 90%. I'm going to say 100% of the time, if you do that, Anybody that's any fucking good is going to go, oh shit, and they'll start doing it too. And you will be a leader, and that is a very strong position to come into a room with, for sure. So physical warm-up, we said physical warm-up, verbal warm-up, group warm-up, but I definitely think certain rituals that work for you, whether it's a meditation, whether it's just bowing into your space like a karate guy does into a dojo, something where you leave the world behind and enter an open and empty space for yourself to fill. So I'll call that blank slate. So let's say physical warm-up, verbal warm-up, group warm-up. The group warm-up, hopefully the teacher's going to take care of that. But I'm actually also suggesting things you could do before a show, or especially if you don't have time to do a warm-up, or for an audition if you're an actor, or for even like a job interview or anything that's nerve-wracking. I recommend these across the board. I do this stuff all the time, and it really helps me. So those bullet points, leave your shit behind you, or maybe call it like step one, like that bullet point, we'll call it leave your shit behind you. And then after that, we'll put two like sub bullet points. One is leave your shit behind you, and one is like embrace an openness. We'll call that blank slate. So I think those are some rituals that are important. Clearly behind those are things like eat well, get enough sleep, do all those rituals in your life, and if you ritualize them, they become force of habit, and they don't continually force you to reinvent the wheel every single day. You're going to want to habituate your life, especially if you're an actor or an improviser. A lot of your life is kind of up in the air. A lot of it is outside of your control. A lot of it takes a lot of surrender to chance and opportunities, and your life is very flexible. I got a phone call to co-host this thing. No, it wasn't a phone call. It was a message that somebody sent me at like 1 something in the morning. They were like, hey, like it was a couple days ago, they asked me to host this thing I'm doing tonight. But then like just early this morning, I got up, I'm all going down with my ritual to have my 2 big, huge glasses of water that I have every morning. So I go to grab my water. Sure enough, I have a message that says, oh, since you're hosting, would you like to teach there's a class prior to the little show. So I'm like, yeah. And the reason I can do that is because I have other shit in place that allows me to be flexible. So it seems like, wow, that Melissa is always so flexible. Whenever I ask her, she's ready to go. That's because my structure of my life is not terribly flexible. If you ask me to go out for a beer at 1:30 in the morning, I'm going to say no unless it is Friday or Saturday. Those are my drink days. I don't have more. I don't drink every single time, but I'm available to drink only those days, unless there's a holiday or some fluke. I'm not going to break my ritual. I'm going to go to bed around the same time most of the days of the week. I'm going to get up around the same time. I need to have that structure because the rest of my life can then be less structured. I wish that I had covered a little bit more on the bullet points, but I'm going to keep revisiting this concept of ritualizing, and I'm going to just individuate some small plate little specials of different rituals that I think work, and then you can try them yourselves. Okay, that's all I've got today. Love you all. Keep improvising through your life and on stage. Okay, bye.